Compliance issues and things that are beyond our control. So immigration, tax, you definitely have to have the right to work in the US, and that's a challenge, of course, for mobility professionals. But what's rewarding about bringing employees into the United States is you're actually a part of that story. So that employee story, that family story, the opportunity to expose both the employee and the family into a new environment, a new country, new school systems, and seeing that contribution to their career, if you will, it's definitely rewarding. You see a lot of successes. Some of the employees will localize and stay in the U.S., and you're a part of that. So it's rewarding in general just by knowing that you're supporting. You're a champion for global mobility, and you get to see it in action and see the different success stories that come out of mobility that comes into the U.S.
Global mobility is, in my eyes, so much more than relocating employees. Global mobility is one of the only areas of the business that touches so many other areas.
I think what's important is to ensure that there is due diligence done with respect to what all is involved, whether that be ensuring that they have adequate cultural training, whether that be potentially considering the need to provide some sort of interest-free loan from a company standpoint to ensure that they are able to secure a car or to secure a home even, and ensuring that they have destination services. So someone who is helping them through facilitating setting up a bank account, helping them to facilitate figuring out how to mail something. Where's the closest grocery store? All of these things may, to you or I, come as something that is taken for granted, essentially. But to another country, and particularly in the US, I think there can be some challenge and confusion that comes with it. And so I think providing adequate support is a necessity.
Definitely over communication. I can't tell you how many times people who are moving are frustrated because they didn't know what was going on, in their move or the process. So I think over communication with the people moving, with the HR teams, with the companies, with your vendors, just making sure that everyone is on the same page and you understand, what are all the moving parts, who's responsible for what, and you have timelines. So communication along with timelines. And sometimes it's just asking, the person moving, do you want to be on all the communications? Are you aware of everything that you need to do? Just checking in with them. Sometimes there's no update, the case is still processing, but it's a no update is almost still as good as a real update. I've seen, especially now that we get updates immediately when our things are ordered, or when our food is ordered and it's being delivered to us. We just love that constant update, email that says, we got your order, So I think that's what employees are expecting as well now that are moving. They want to see that communication that's almost like a no update.
Immigration is one of the challenge, and especially during the pandemic, right? We all facing that challenge. I think it's also worldwide too, and it's changed every day. the taxation, because US is the global taxation country and is adding more layers to when you trying to moving employee or assignee from country to countries, and adding more complication in that. One of the rewards I find is that's priceless is you have the opportunity to meet a lot of people worldwide. Those are the knowledge, those are the experience. It's priceless, right? I think people recognize it. This is the opportunities, a wide window for you to learn more from this culture, from the US perspective. You have an open mind. Expect some unexpected. In the US, our culture is very individualism. You have to have an open mind when you come to the US to look at the culture, to look at even from the business perspective, right? The way the US people running their business, you may not find that similar to where you come from. So you may be disappointed, but always have an open mind.
Yeah, my top tip for mobility professionals supporting the immigration piece is just having a really strong partner who understands the immigration landscape and is keeping you up to date so that you know that you're able to compliantly deploy your employees anywhere in the world that you need to send them.
I think in order to run a strong immigration program, it's critical that you understand immigration yourself. What are all the different types of visas that your employees can apply for? How long do they typically take? What does the process, the application process look like? Because the more information you have, the better suited you'll be able to then help your stakeholders.
There are many, many challenges currently for Destination USA when it comes to immigration. There are severe backlogs with the US government in approving immigration cases. There are severe backlogs with US embassies and consulates around the world with securing interview appointments for employees who need to apply for work visas. It can be easier when it is easier to get into the United States. Pre the pandemic, it was one of the easier countries to be able to get into. There are many different types of visa options available for different types of employees around the world. So the US immigration system is vast. Those are some of the key benefits. Some of the US immigration work visas have benefits that allow spouses to work. So that's definitely a big attraction for assignees who look to the US, to take part in assignments here in the US. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, a lot of that has been, backlogged, as I just mentioned. But I think overall, even, as we're now trying to get back to some level of normalcy, there is still a lot of keen interest. There are still a lot of employees and assignees around the world who are still looking to move to the US and be able to come here, take on assignments and be successful in whatever they do. So there are a lot of benefits. There's also, the option to pursue a green card if one wants to come and live and stay here permanently. So there are a multitude of advantages, except for what we're dealing with currently. My top tip would be to have a discussion before thinking of moving an assignee. Reach out to the Global Mobility team. Discuss the logistics of moving that assignee, discuss immigration, discuss relocation, discuss tax implications. Quite often, discussions start without involving Global Mobility, and then Global Mobility are sort of contacted halfway through the process. And then it's, we run into issues all because we weren't aware. And then when we start providing the appropriate guidance and advice, and it's like, oh, and the teams that were working on this, there's a realization that, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done this. We should have notified Global Mobility first. So I would say the top tip is don't do anything without informing Global Mobility, because there are lots of challenges, complications, and compliance risks.
I think what makes global mobility attractive in the US in particular is the various options that we do have that we are able to consider for sponsorship when it comes to foreign talent. And that helps us to have a competitive advantage as well as when we're looking to hire talent, especially with the market that is so competitive. What is attractive about it, I think, is that it is so nuanced and there's so many factors that we have to take into consideration. And while every case is different, I think the opportunity to collaborate with external immigration counsel, our ER teams, our other global mobility teams, and trying to figure out how best to structure that and always being able to come up with a solution for the business.
I think I'm fortunate to have grown a global mobility career in the United States. I think it is the nexus for a lot of great companies. There's so many opportunities in the United States, and it gives me an opportunity to manage the program that's headquartered in the U.S. despite having offices all around the country. I mean, all around the world, actually. And one of the major drawbacks, though, I feel like, is the complexities of U.S. regulations, whether it's in immigration or in tax. In immigration, it can take 10 years to get somebody a green card, depending on how backlogged the country is. There's a lot of labor market testing involved, a lot of prevailing wage, and there's not actually, in contrast to popular belief, there may not be a lot of options to bring somebody to the United States if they're currently overseas. I also feel like there's a layer of complexity when it comes to tax regulations that goes beyond just our national borders, but going from state to state, and depending on how much time you have spent in each state, and whether it's going to create a business, a permanent establishment in that state, I think is really complicated, and so that's my drawback to that.